Hi, I'm Nathan from Serious Geeks, and in this video I'm going to continue the Tactica series with a discussion on the Assault Intercessor Squad for Codex Space Marines. I regard this unit as much improved from its Indomitus box set incarnation. Starting with the stat line, you can see that the Assault Intercessor Squad has the standard what you would expect stat line for a Primaris unit. Same as a normal ordinary Space Marine, like a Tactical Marine, but with an additional attack, which actually makes a massive difference for this particular unit. Crucially, for the performance of this unit, it can now be taken in 4 to 9 models plus a Sergeant. This, of course, is a massive improvement over the original incarnation of the rules as shown in the Indomitus box set, which were limited to just a maximum of 5 models per unit. Having more models in the unit means you're more likely to reach close combat with enough models to be combat effective, which is basically the reason you're taking this unit. Their weaponry is the heavy bolt pistol, which is a reasonable bolt pistol. It has a range of 18 and a -1 AP. It's nothing to write home about, but every little helps, and don't forget it. For melee, the unit has access to Astartes chainswords, which all now have a -1 AP as well as given an additional attack. This, combined with Shock Assault, 2 attacks profile, means that you're going to have 4 attacks per turn in close combat with a -1 AP minimum. Bear in mind, in the Assault Doctrine, you'll have a -2. Lastly, the Sergeant has a few options. They can take hand flamers or plasma pistols, and they can take slightly different close combat weapons, either a power sword, a power fist, or a thunder hammer. Each one of those options has its own merit. A lot of people swear by the thunder hammer simply because it does so much damage. Myself, I usually lean away from weapons that are hitting on a 4+ in close combat by 1 model, but it does have the capacity to do a reasonable amount of damage to the opponent. For me, the biggest winner in that list there is the power sword. Power swords are very effective. They give +1 strength, so you're wounding Space Marine equivalents on a 3+ with a -3 AP, -4 in the Assault Doctrine, and you have quite a lot of attacks with it. You'll have 3 attacks in close combat, +1 for Shock Assault, so that's 4 attacks on average. So you can see that the unit has quite a lot of offensive capacity. What is the role of the unit? The most obvious answer here is to spend your points in your troops choice on a unit that can fight in the close combat phase, giving you a large contingent of assault troops. They're not going to carry the day purely on their own unless they're up against very weak troops, but they add numbers to an attack force, particularly a unit of Blade Guard. Like the Blade Guard, the biggest weakness of Assault Intercessors is they don't have jump packs. They have a basic movement of 6. So on that basis, you have to use a little bit of thought on how you're going to use them. Fortunately, table sizes being slightly smaller and the need to take objectives means that they're going to be moving towards the enemy, who in turn should be moving towards them, otherwise they're not going to take the objectives. So you will not have many turns where you won't be able to foot slog into close combat. On that basis, choose your avenue of attack quite clearly and quite prominently, knowing full well that you're not going to be able to change pace and move elsewhere with that unit very easily. Squad sizes, well, depending on what you want to do, if you want a couple of squads filling out your troops choice that are assault elements, supporting your major assault force, maybe you've got Vanguard Veterans, Blade Guard, maybe even using aggressors, characters for instance, then you can have several smaller squads supporting them and adding their numbers to the mass. This has the benefit of being able to spread across the table, going for multiple objectives, and it also means that you're not putting a lot of points into your troops element, because bear in mind, no matter how big the squad is, it only costs as 1 troops choice. When utilising the Assault Intercessor Squad in larger numbers, in 1 squad, you have something that is essentially adding bodies to an attack force and can generate a lot of damage for basic infantry. Anything shy of a Space Marine will go down very quickly to a unit of these, particularly a large unit. When taking a large unit, it's at that point you want to see about investing in the Sergeant to give him either a Power Fist, Thunder Hammer or a Power Sword. If you anticipate having to take on units that have multiple wounds, the Power Fist and the Thunder Hammer are definitely one of the choices you have to consider for this unit. Shooting element, well, if you have the points spare, it's nice to have a plasma pistol. You don't want to overcharge it and lose an expensive model, especially if he has a Thunder Hammer as well, but it's a nice option to have a plasma pistol because you've got AP -3, which overcomes a little bit of the weakness and gives you a little bit extra firepower up close and personal. The hand flamer, I'm not particularly sold on it. It's a reasonable choice for hurting basic infantry such as toughness 3 models, but at the end of the day you're going to be carving through them with your Assault Intercessor squad in the melee phase, so do you really need to worry about an extra few hand flamer shots? So now that we've considered what the Assault Intercessor squad can do on the table and its main role, being a spearhead or taking objectives, either way it's going to be an aggressive unit, we have to consider what other options they have to support them. As an example, the Impulsor transport tank. You can also put them in a repulsor, but at that point you're spending a lot of points for a basic infantry squad in close combat that doesn't have the power weapons to really warrant it. If you're going to spend that kind of points, put Blade Guard in your repulsor. When it comes to using the Impulsor though, you can get a squad up the table relatively quickly. You can do it in one turn if need be, but you can't charge that turn. And yeah, that's not a bad option, especially for a small squad that needs to take an objective. When it comes to character support, any close combat character will benefit from having an entourage of Assault Intercessors around him. The extra wounds really helps. And if you have a large squad, lieutenants, captains and chaplains can really boost the squad's damage output. Chaplains get special mention here. Their Litany of Battle Exhortation of Rage gives a +1 to the wound roll of a melee attack for that turn. It's at this point the stratagem Honour the Chapter, which was retasked to only affect Assault Intercessors, really comes into play. When utilised on a small squad, it ceases to be efficient because it costs 2 command points. But if you use it on a larger squad, alongside say the Litany of Battle Exhortation of Rage, you're going to get a lot of mileage out of it. Fighting twice is always painful for anyone, and with the amount of attacks that this unit can really throw out there, you know that you're going to do a lot of damage. Consider this when you put a large investment into the squad. A large squad with weapons on the sergeant that uses Litany of Battle is going to get a lot of mileage out of fighting twice. The opportunity to use it has to be up to the player. Is it worthwhile? Do you need to kill the unit you're up against? Do you want to cull more numbers and then consolidate onto an objective? Or do you want to eliminate a model that might be holding an objective or getting in the way? If you have a good opportunity to get an advantage, then use it. Don't just use it just because it's fun to throw that many dice twice, because at the end of the day, you'll be in close combat in the opponent's phase, and that means that they will have to either move so they can shoot you or engage you again in close combat anyway. And either way, that's an advantage to yourself. So don't always use it just to wipe out opponents, but use it to get an advantage for yourself. On the note of stratagems, Assault Intercessors really benefit from Gene-wrought Might. Another Primaris only stratagem, this one allows a rather mediocre strength of 4 to really cut through high toughness opponents. On a roll of a 6 to hit in close combat, your attack will wound automatically. The sheer number of attacks that an Assault Intercessor squad can generate means that you're bound to get quite a lot of wound rolls there. And then lastly, probably the most standout stratagem of them all is Transhuman Physiology. When utilised on a large assault unit, that unit becomes very tenacious and hard to remove. It even means that you can slow down rather tough and dangerous units. I've actually seen Assault Intercessors slowing down the Nightbringer using this very stratagem because they had a unit of 5 and I'm only wounding them on a 4+ with 6 attacks. So odds are I'm going to fail a couple and then the unit is left there holding me up in close combat. It was against me, of course. And the Nightbringer was literally held in place and suffered more damage in the next turn. Since this unit is a rather blunt instrument, it is rather direct and is utilised very simply for taking objectives and flooding the board and board control with numbers who can fight in close combat, particularly helping out your spearheads, such as your Blade Guard and your other assault troops. There's not much more to say. They don't have the movement shenanigans to be able to move around the table quickly and have a lot of nuance there, and their stratagems are all geared to fighting and kicking the teeth into the opponent pretty much. Transhuman Physiology obviously is a great one for survival, and it's pretty direct there. If you're getting an absolute hammering and you want that unit to survive, use Transhuman Physiology. The last thing to say about the unit is what kind of armies it fits in. I wouldn't recommend this unit just slotting into any old army because it is quite specific on how you utilise them to get the best out of them. An Ultramarines army, for example, that has absolutely no assault troops are not going to be able to support this unit that well. However, they can operate as an attacking force for your bolter Marines, depending on how you build your list. So be very careful how you implement this unit into your army. They're not going to just come in and do wonders for you. They need to be supported. They need to have other units distracting the opponent through target saturation. As an example, Blade Guard, who are going to take a lot of attention. The Assault Intercessors are there to support them and to support the characters that go with them. Particular armies that might enjoy them a lot will be Black Templars, White Scars, Blood Angels, Space Wolves. All these chapters give a lot of benefits to their assault troops, and therefore Assault Intercessors can really come into their own with them. But again, depending on what you want, you might want to hold ground with your troops' choices, because you have other assault elements doing all the work. It depends on your army build, it depends on what you need. So think very carefully there before you just slot them in. But in most armies, they should do a little bit of work if properly supported. That's it from me. Thank you for supporting the channel. Please like and subscribe, guys, and I hope to catch up with you all soon. Peace out.